Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to PBA at Noon. I'm Paul Benwell, and with me today is my colleague, Sophie Caesar. Today we have with us Goldseek Resources. Goldseek trades on the CSE under the symbol George Sam King. They have a portfolio of assets in Ontario and Quebec. Goldseek's flagship property is the near resource stage Beschefer Project located on the Detour Gold Trend. Last week, Goldseek announced intercepts of 4.92 grams per ton over 28.65 meters at their flagship property. With only 14 million shares outstanding, outside of management and a market cap of under 10 million, the company is very tightly structured for potential positive developments. Management prides itself on having one of the lowest G&A burns in the industry, getting the most out of every dollar raised, and is the company's largest shareholder, currently with a 59% ownership. I'm happy to introduce the CEO, Jon Deluce. Welcome, Jon. Whenever you're ready to go ahead, I suggest anybody having questions, please put them in the Q&A, and we will have some questions for you at the end of the presentation.
Sounds great. Thanks, Paul. And I appreciate everybody's time today to learn about our relatively new story at Goldseek. So I'll just share my screen and let me know if there's any issues. So is it?
It looks good.
Okay, sounds good. So a bit about myself. So I'm a chartered accountant by background. So I come from a finance backing. I'm a former manager at Ernst & Young. I spent a lot of time working across North America and Australia for the major and intermediate mining companies. So I have a lot of experience working at their operations, have a good understanding of what they're looking for, which is a big part of founding and building Goldseek Resources from scratch. So I'm also a member of the Deluce family office, who were well diversified across various industries. And I lead the mining side of our business. And I was also part of the team that made the March 2020 discovery at Carscallen, owned by Melchior, which led to closing a $110 million option and joint venture with Kirkland Lake Gold. So we have good contacts with the majors, and they follow what we're doing. So on our technical side, Stephen Logier leads our grassroots exploration. So he's been responsible for numerous discoveries that have been generated out of a till-led soil, screening very large properties with systematic till and following up, which is a very cost-efficient and proven method to explore in the Abitibi. So leading our 3D modeling and drilling work at Beschefer is Martin Demers. So Martin is very experienced and is experienced in the Abitibi and also with what our goals are at Goldseek. So he was a senior geologist at Horizon when they oversaw the development from discovery through to a buyout at the Casa Berardi mine. And that was acquired in 2013 by Hecla for $800 million. So, and to note, Casa Berardi is only 40 kilometers to the southwest of Beschefer, and that's still in production today. So, and it offers nearby infrastructure that's not too far away. So as you'll notice, we have myself being from a finance background, we believe in building the team around the assets that we're developing. If you go to any geologist and ask them if they can work at a project, the majority of times is they'll say yes, but it doesn't mean that they're the best person for that project. So we run Goldseek Lean, and we bring in the best people to address each project. And Martin has done an excellent job leading our efforts to date at Beschefer. So looking at a high-level overview of the company. So I promised my investors last year when we went public and raised funds over the summer. We went public with 2 grassroots assets, since added on another 2. and also acquired Beschefer. But I promised my shareholders that I would look for an advanced stage project, either that had an existing resource or was a near resource project. And we screened 10 plus properties in coming to Beschefer, meeting that criteria for us, but also offering a lot of growth potential and being somewhere like Quebec in the Detour Gold Trend, where there's a lot of existing infrastructure, and is also an area that's been highly publicized as of late with the success of Wallbridge, and also Kirkland Lake Gold on the Ontario side with the Detour mine. So proven exploration team, we focus solely on Ontario and Quebec, more so Quebec, with 5 projects on the Quebec side. I believe Quebec is the best mining jurisdiction in Canada, very close behind by Ontario. But we don't venture outside where we have infrastructure and where we're specialized in. So we're an Ontario and Quebec focused company. And really, the reason why I founded Goldseek is we've had a history as a family office developing assets privately and vending them to public companies that have then gone on to be successful with resources. But we noticed in 2016-17 that we vended 2 properties to companies that raised a bunch of money and were more or less lifestyle companies that burnt a lot of the money in G&A, and we didn't see them deliver on the plans that were put forward on the project. So instead of going through that again, knowing that we were getting into a strong mining market, and we believe that we have a view that the gold price would do very, very well over the next few years, we decided to design a vehicle and to back and build out a company that prides ourselves on effective capital management. And we're the largest shareholders of the company. We've put over $1 million of our own money, and not just cheap paper. We put in over $500,000 at 25 cents hard and 27 cents flow through, which is at a premium of where we're trading at today at 17 cents. So we pride ourselves on industry low G&A, as Paul mentioned, and we're very well aligned with our shareholders, winning alongside them and not at their expense. So looking at our portfolio for the Quebec side, our One Ontario project is further to the southwest in the Hemlo Gold Camp. So I'll focus the presentation today on Beschefer, but I'll just touch on very briefly the remainder of our portfolio. We believe the best way for a junior sub 10 million market cap is to have a strong near resource flagship asset that drives financing, drives news flow, but you got to have a pipeline of growth in the background, that you're not at the pressure of drilling before targets are fully defined, that you can take a systematic approach to increase the odds of hitting on grassroots targets. So as I mentioned, Beschefer is our flagship. Southern arm is connected to Beschefer with little underlying royalty. Cavion West has no underlying royalty. It's our largest project at 70,000 acres. Bonanza's in the Urban Berry Gold Camp, and Val-d'Or North is northeast of the Val-d'Or mining camp. So jumping right into Beschefer. So Beschefer was the flagship that we acquired an option to earn 100% from Wallbridge, and I'll get into the terms in further slides. But we knew when we were looking for a project that met our criteria as being a potentially company-making asset, we had to look at either the producing, intermediate, or large juniors, because any project with merit amongst competitors of our size, it would have been their flagship, and or they would have drilled it to death with no growth potential left in the asset. So we're very happy with our transaction. As I mentioned, we believe it's near resource. We've released a 3D model. We've released the 4 gold zones that we believe are there today, and we've started to validate that claim through our starting drill results, as Paul mentioned, released last week, headlined by 4.92 grams over 28.65 meters, which we're very excited about. But other historical mentioned 255.6 over 6 meters in the east zone, and 13.07 over 8.75 meters in the east zone as well. So very strong historical grades, but a lot of continuity to it. And we'll show that in the following slides coming up. So this gives an overview of the 3D model, which we built, that helps put some support forward to start on our claim of it being a near resource asset. So we've modeled out the 4 zones. Our drilling in this 5,000 meter drill program that we just finished focused on the central shallow and the east zone. And our headline release from last week has done a lot for our block model when considering a maiden resource. As prior to that intercept, our typical grade was 2.5 grams over 12 meters. And I'll show you in the sections where that 4.92 over 28 fits in. So and I'll get into our drilling strategy, which we have laid out in a few slides now. So historically, over 95 holes across 24,000 meters drilled. Historically, we just finished 5,000. And looking at the composites that we've modeled in our initial 3D model of the gold zones, it shows a very, very strong footprint to start. So 500 meters to down dip, 600 meters along strike, both open. So with those type of grades and numbers, one can start to extrapolate what we may be able to produce in a maiden resource. So looking at the center slice, so this is a 150 meter window of the highest density of drilling historically on the project. So where the 4.92 grams over 28 meters, it fit in right in this gap, which had some very favorable intercepts around, but it fit in right in the gap. We'll be releasing an updated sections in the next couple of weeks, but it does a lot to influence our block model, which will help in producing a strong maiden resource on the project. So as you can see, a lot of continuity in this. It's open, and we have a plan to drill it out and showcase the potential that we believe is here at Beschefer. So 40% of our initial 5,000 meters was focused on the east zone. This is the blue sky potential in the results that are left to come out. So the east zone represents the lowest density of drilling on the project, but it also has the highest metal intercept on the project to date, which was 55 over 5.4 meters. That's actual and not drilled length. So we focused a lot of infill drilling here, but we also did up to a 200 meter extension hole to the northeast. And what we mentioned in our last press release with the assays at Beschefer, that we continued to hit up to 200 meters away. So very excited about that. We see that as the blue sky potential in this maiden program, and we're already starting to design follow-up holes for our winter drill program. So brief history, this was drilled, and the initial discovery was by the Salbei Mine Company, who operated the Salbei Mine 12 kilometers to the west of Beschefer. That was a polymetallic VMS base metals deposit that is no longer in production, but on care and maintenance. And they were searching the Beschefer area for more feed in a base metals context. So when they hit the gold, it was not of high priority to them, which saw the project further developed with Sea Green in 2006. But the first really material program was done by Exelon, well, La Tigra, then Exelon, when they took over La Tigra in 2012 and 13. So then after that, there was a small program done by Wallbridge, which was 1,600 meters in 2018. And then the project sat dormant. Well, it was overshadowed by Wallbridge's Fenelon Gold project. However, that offered the opportunity for us to acquire it as at Goldseek. So we see we've demonstrated we see the significant gold potential. We also do see base metals potential, which we'll build on in the coming press releases. So this gives an overview of our 5,000 meter drill program that was just completed, our plan with it. So 60% of the drilling was infill resource drilling. That was between 25 to 50 meters to support our goal of targeting a maiden resource in 2022. That headline result was right in this section to connect the two strong gold zone. So that 4.92 over 28 meters was just in that section there. And we'll provide updated figures in the next couple of weeks. So as I mentioned earlier, the blue sky, where we are very excited about the remaining assays, is on the east zone, which has seen limited historical drilling. However, it does have the strongest metal factor on the project. But given that that zone doesn't start at surface, that's why there's been a lot of the historical work focused on extending the east zone at narrow depths, and it didn't capture what we believe is the depth northeast extension of the east zone. So this provides a brief overview of our catalyst for the remainder of the year. Assays will be coming out consistently over the next month and a half, and along that we'll be announcing our follow-up program over the winter. So terms that we acquired the project, the option to earn 100% off of Wallbridge, extremely friendly. 10% on a fully diluted basis, share-wise issue over 4 years, $3 million work commitment, no cash. So really shows them betting on our equity, given that we're so tightly structured and we have a good track record of making discoveries and being prudent managers of capital. So something that makes us unique, as Paul mentioned in the intro, management, myself, my family office directors, we have 59% of the company. We've done that through over $1 million of our own money in the company. Over $500,000 of that was done at 25 and 27 cents. So we don't, not just cheap paper, we've supported the company in the majority of the financings. The warrants are between 50 and 60 cents, so very little cheap overhang. So the remaining public float is around 14 million shares, so very tightly held for positive, or very tight, a lot of torque on potential positive developments. So wrapping it up in summary, this is a layout that I evaluate, whether it's my other investments in the junior space and how we look at things as a family office. So first, the valuation sitting at 5.5 million today, we believe that we offer a lot of that growth in our valuation based on the drill results at Beschefer, a targeted maiden resource, and other developments that will come. Not even mentioning the pipeline of grassroots exploration that we have. Very tightly structured. The catalyst at the moment is we have 3,200 meters of assays remaining from our drill program. Alignment with our large shareholdings and industry low G&A. We're well aligned with our shareholders to win alongside them and continue to show results. And we're funded. So after the paying out all the 5,000 meters, we'll be at 1 million in cash and no debt. So we're still well funded for a follow-up program and or to raise in a position of strength on a re-rating on continued news out of Beschefer. But anyways, appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to turning it over to questions.
So we have quite a few questions. Some of them overlap, but let's get started. Do you have all your permits, like the water and drilling, etc.?
Yeah, so we pride ourselves on having great relationships with the First Nations in Quebec, which is at the forefront of being granted and operating continuously in Quebec. So I met with the mineral resource rep at Picogan on the reserve prior to starting drilling. We do have all the valid permits. I went over it with the First Nations in person. So we were fully permitted for our prior drill program. We do have, I believe, still another 8 holes permitted before, but we will, part of us getting right into our designing our winter program is to get another permit out in November. So we'll still have some holes to start on, but we'll be permitting additional holes based on the continued results to come out of our remaining of drilling.
Okay, excellent. So what is that infrastructure like on site? You mentioned drilling in November. Well, what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's actually easier to drill in the winter, given that it's a bit of a swampy area. However, the investments that we've made in the access road over the summer will stay with the project. So we've made it a year-round project, whereas some other operators have focused it on winter drilling. But there's a power line that runs right through the property. So it's literally 3 kilometers from where we're drilling. And it's an all-year road that is plowed by the ministry. And we have the South Bay mine 40 kilometers within trucking distance to the southwest. And then we have Walbridge's Fenelon Gold Project 30 kilometers to the northeast. And as an aside, we're looking forward to their maiden resource that's coming at the end of this month that I think is going to help bring a lot of attention on the Detour and Fenelon Gold Camp.
So you mentioned Walbridge. How much does Walbridge own? Are they shareholders? What's the situation there?
So they're small shareholder today. The initial payment on signing of the deal was 750,000 shares, which works out to about 2 or 3%. However, we do have the ability to accelerate the option, and I do foresee us doing that. If we were to accelerate it early, they would then get their 4 million shares, which is 10% of the company on a fully diluted basis. But if we don't accelerate, it's in tranches over the next 2 years with the balance paid at the end of the 4 years.
So that brings me to another interesting point. So you have all these projects. Do you foresee a JV or a spin out potentially with some of these other larger groups in the area?
Yeah, definitely. So we've had success with that model in the past. Obviously, with a company of our size with 6 projects, the grassroots projects being very large in size, it is our goal within the next year to at least close one option or joint venture on the grassroots side of our business. So that is part of something. There's numerous larger players that numerous producers that I meet with on a quarterly basis that track our work across all of our assets. So we believe in having that approach. It's always better to have them come to you, and too many companies will only go to the majors when they want something or they want to try to get a partner. We believe in having continuous dialogue because you never know when they might see a project, the value in a project to pick it up, and then that is part of our growth strategy.
Oh, that's a very good, a good strategy there. So let's talk a little bit about the historical data. Do you have historical data on the site? Yeah, so we have full historical data. I'm sitting in our office today in Timmins. 20,000 meters of the historical core is a 5-minute drive from me in Timmins. We did inspect a lot of that prior to our initial drill program. We have started an exercise reviewing all the historical data to ensure it's 43101 compliant, and we're very confident that the majority of it is. So it is something that we're able to leverage on the material. Well, I'd say at least 85% of historical work to put into a targeted resource for next year. So then that's it. So you're targeting to publish an updated 43101 within the next 12 months. Yeah, it will be the first resource estimate at the project. So okay. It is our goal to produce the initial resource at some point next year. We continue to build the block model on our side of the table. So we'll continue to review where our holes fit in, continue to review our internal estimate to make sure that we deliver it at a time that will create value for shareholders, considering where our valuation is with the re-ratings that we're getting on drilling. Which brings me to another question that we have here. So you mentioned the holes. What is the deepest hole on the property currently? So the deepest hole that we drilled in this program was 400 meters. The deepest hole historically hasn't been a lot longer than that. So it still shows that there's a lot of room to grow. You look at, I think a good comparison is where Fenelon was with Walbridge in 2016 when they acquired it. It was a shallow gold system to date, but they've extended it well over a kilometer at depth. So these systems are large, they continue to depth, and our modeling has showed the openness of the system. But so yes, the drilling to date has been relatively shallow. Okay, and so what is the cost of drilling? So my latest budget to actual that I updated yesterday, we're projecting all in, like every single thing that goes filed to the ministry, we're looking at about $170 a meter. So that's every single thing that you can capture. Our camp costs, the rental of dozers, the road construction. So that will drop because that also has about 100 grand of access that we had to put into place.
So that is an all-encompassing number. I would budget that our winter program comes in between 140 and 150 all in.
Okay, which then brings me to how much cash on hand, and we know that you're very tight with your burn rate, but maybe you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, so after we pay out all bills for this program, we'll have a treasury position between 900,000 and $1 million. So we're in a position that we can still do a follow-up program and or raise money in a position of strength. Because at the forefront is we want to develop Goldseek, limiting dilution for the purpose of our existing new shareholders, and obviously selfishly ourselves as management that holds such a large position. And in terms of our burn rate across our entire management team, we take a total of $75,000 a year in consulting fees. So that shows how low of a burn we have compared to our competitors. And really, we're in this to make money alongside our shareholders in the stock price. And that's why, looking forward a year and a half, like the reason why we want to ensure that our next raise is done at the right time is I want to set the company up for a $5+ million raise next year. And I have to pick our financing with the right people and at the right price this year to facilitate that larger goal for next year.
Okay, excellent. Paul's joined us. Paul, do you have a question or two for Jon before we wrap up?
Well, Jon, can you explain, it says here management and insider ownership is 19.3 million, but then just below that it says 10.1 million escrowed until March of 2023. Is that you guys that are escrowed?
Yeah,
management?
that's us. So that was part of the Go Public prospectus, is we locked up a lot of our shares that is being released over 6 months, every 6 months. So the number is a bit lower. We just had a tranche release in September. But it shows that we're in this for the long term, and we had no problem locking up our position on listing.
Okay, and how did you get the project from Walbridge? You got so many people all around there. I mean, you got a lot of big players in there. So who do you know at Walbridge?
Well, I think I think it speaks to our track record.
Okay.
I think our capital structure was right. They know if we have success, they'll make money on our stock. We have a good relationship with one of their largest shareholders, Kirkland Lake Gold. I'm sure that didn't hurt. But it's also, Walbridge has, besides just Fenelon, they have a very impressive portfolio. They have a nickel asset in Sudbury. They have another gold asset on the Detour Gold Trend. So it was the right opportunity that we were able to slide in, showcase our technical team, showcase what we had built to date. So I believe it was the right fit for them, and we look forward to making them a lot of money on their stock.
Do they retain a royalty on the project?
They don't. There's some historical royalty holders, but it isn't Walbridge. Okay,
and are they substantial, these royalties on the property, or can you buy them
we
back?
have the ability to buy them down to 1.25%.
Okay. Now, all the historical data that you have, because there has been a lot of drilling over time, can you use that or part of that in your 43-101, or do you have to twin holes all around to get new data?
No, we can use the majority. Like we've done we're a ways through our exercise of validating all of the previous holes, whether it's looking at the assay certs, looking at the location. We have the core and Timmins. So I'd say our best estimate today is 85% of the historical holes we can use in a resource. So there won't be a lot of twinning necessary.
All right, your next financing, or do you have any existing flow through like on your last financing? And would you do flow through on the next one?
Yes, we did have flow through. We did it at a lot higher pricing, which was our last flow through round was done at 37 cents. So we have had flow through. They've been great shareholders, and it's allowed the liquidity that we need. Like without the flow through shareholders, there would be no trading in our stock because we own so much. We have our high net worth friends and followers that know our track record that have subscribed and bought a lot of that flow through out of the market. So I see the flow through funds as an asset in the stock that allows individuals to take a position. and they work very well with us. When they need a block sold, we find a home for it.
Got you. Got you. And I've got one final question. Are you a miner or a producer? I mean, are you a miner or an explorer? Sorry.
Definitely an explorer. I'll never pretend that I'm a miner. So we're in this to build a resource, develop it, and continuing to build on it. And we also see that it's the most exciting part of the life cycle, because once you get into development, you have a boring 4 or 5 years that the stock prices don't do a whole lot. So we're definitely explorers. I would never put on a mining hat unless there's a miner that comes to replace me as the CEO. So we're explorer first, and that's in line with our goals as shareholders of Goldseek, hoping for a liquidity event down the road once we build out the assets that we have, and also are in a very explosive gold market that I think is coming. And transactions like the Kirkland Lake Agnico merger show a lot of, I think that's very, very positive for Ontario and Quebec. That's where the strength of their assets is, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a real M&A spree once their merger closes, and they look to continue to add ounces in production in those provinces.
Okay. Well, Jon, great presentation. You got some good properties. You're surrounded by good people. I know Wallbridge very well, so like I know how they operate and what they do. So obviously they're like looking at what you're doing with their property for the moment. And what's the terms of that? How long do you go before you own the property 100%? You can bring it down?
Yeah, so it's 100% after 4 years. There's no in between, but we could accelerate that. Like as of today, we've already completed 1 million of the 3 million work commitment. I think we'll do another 1 million at least this winter. So I'd say we accelerate. My goal is to accelerate it in the first 2 years, not go to 4 years.
Got you. In your opinion, would this be open pit or deep?
So I've had that discussion with my team. We believe it's a combination of both. And we haven't yet highlighted the open pit potential and why we believe there is open pit component to this. But the B14 zone as a whole is very, like there's low grade gold across the entire structure. So that's why we believe there is the potential for a combination. And we look forward to building on that when we bring in our drill program, some of the geophysics that we've been doing, and just bringing this all together to showcase whether it's for financing or just to continue to build our story. Because with our goals, we will need to raise a lot of capital. So I need to show the value on why we justify attracting that capital in a province that is very competitive. But near resource projects in Quebec are very hard to find, and we think that we have one of them. And I agree with you. Wallbridge has done an excellent job. I have a good relationship with them. They've been very helpful in the transition. So I also wish them all the best. And I believe that they'll bring a lot of limelight on the camp as a whole through their Maiden Resources Month.
Yeah, agreed. Again, Jon, thank you very much for your time today. Thanks to everyone for attending. We'll be following you for the next 4 months. We're putting out your drill results as they come along, and we'll continue to follow the story. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.